Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for your service and for being here. And right up front, General Senator, I want to express my gratitude for your both understanding and commitment to this benefit to cost ratio issue that has prevented really important jobs from getting done. So I look forward to working with you and my colleagues on that issue. So thank you. I unfortunately was presiding when you had your discussion with Senator Rounds on the surplus water rule, so I'm going to dig into that a little bit for you. As you know, last month I sent a bipartisan letter that was signed by 18 of my colleagues to OMB, hoping to halt the proposed rulemaking regarding the use of core reservoir projects for domestic, municipal, and industrial water supply, or otherwise known as the water supply rule. And similar letters were sent, as you know, to the core from the Western Governors Association, Western Attorneys General, National Water Supply Association, Western States Water Council, and National Water Resources Association, all in opposition to the rule. And not only, in my view, was the rule crafted poorly without adequate state and tribal consultation, which in my view is also just the root of the problem. It's also based, I think, on a wrong premise that somehow the Corps has management control of the water that should remain delegated to the states. And I want to, publicly thank all of my colleagues who signed the letter. Mark Twain was famously said, or believed to have said, "Whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting," and I think we've started a brawl, if this is any indication. But I'd like, first of all, Mr. Chairman, to put into the record all of these letters that I just referenced without objection.
Without objection.
All right. Mr. Fisher, as I'm sure you know, I had to bring this issue all the way to the Secretary of the Army. Secretary McCarthy, when he came before me on the Armed Services Committee as a nominee. I have no doubt this was not his highest priority, and I appreciated both his and your agency's responsiveness when you sent a memo putting the water supply rule on hold for at least 6 months to, quote, in your memo, better integrate input from stakeholders. I appreciate that. The fact that I had to take it to the Secretary himself and that all of these organizations had to write is concerning to me. But I want to make the point clear that this is part of the problem. For nearly 3 years, my colleagues, governors, stakeholders have all made our opposition clear. Yet it seemed to fall on deaf ears. Whether the rule or the host of other issues brought up today, it's clear the Corps is in need of more effective oversight. Mr. Fisher, I'm going to reiterate my thanks for the 6-month delay. It was definitely a win for my constituents and for your constituents. And moving forward, I hope it's even more important that we get this right, not just the process, but the product right in the long run. To both of you, General Semonite and Mr. Fisher, I've been very vocal in my support of policies that promote and protect federalism, as you know. The proposed water supply rule would interfere with state laws and regulations governing the management, allocation, and protection of water resources. And I want to get very specific here. In both the Flood Control Act of 1944 and the Water Supply Act of 1958, Congress made it clear the Corps was to defer to state water law. Specifically, Section 1 of the Flood Control Act of 1944 states, "It is hereby declared to be the policy of the Congress to recognize the interests and rights of the states in determining the development of the watersheds within their borders, and likewise their interests and rights in water utilization." This was later affirmed by the United States Supreme Court. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask just a few fundamental questions as time allows to General Semonite and Mr. Fisher. Do you agree with the Supreme Court that any water supply proposal you submit must defer to state water laws?
Yes, we do.
Is it
Same here, sir.
Thank you. Is it your opinion the current one-size-fits-all proposal that you have on hold adequately defers to state water law?
Yes.
Okay. A few weeks ago, I was able to host EPA Administrator Wheeler in North Dakota, where we discussed both the ACE and WOTUS rules, both of which respect state sovereignty. Now, this has been a high priority of the Trump administration, cooperative federalism. Do you believe that this proposal is in line with the President's stated policies of cooperative federalism, as it is?
You asked if the previous question was about the one-size-fits-all policy.
Yeah.
I think I said yes, didn't I? No would have been the appropriate answer there.
Appreciate that.
It's one size fits all is not good for any. When you have varying geography and topography around the country, that's difficult. And I'm sorry, your then follow-up question was about the Waters of the United States rulemaking and
Well, just the commitment of the Trump administration to cooperative federalism. Do you think that
Yes.
this rule, as it is, adheres to that priority of this administration?
The letters you just entered for the record were a big part of the reason that our office did a 6-month delay. We want to make sure that we're properly conducting a federalism process on this. We want to hear from all states, all stakeholders involved, to make sure their input is considered in this. And then when we get to the end of a 6-month period, a proper decision can be made at that time.
My time is up, so I'll submit some further questions for the record later.
Thank you, Senator
Thank
Cramer.
you.